Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Brian. Today we're going to be replacing the front brake pads on my 2012 VW Touareg. This would likely be the same on a Porsche Cayenne, Audi Q7, other generations of Touaregs. If you want to see more riveting content like this, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's go. There's something somewhere to jack this up with. You could take this belly pan off and get on a cross member to jack this up. What I normally do if I'm not taking the belly pan off is kind of get right on this frame rail right here. And do one side at a time. Put the jack stand right there. There's a hook along in the spare tire area that'll pull these little caps off. I normally just use a pick. You're going to have to get into your spare area and get your wheel lock key though. These lug bolts are a 19. I'm not sure why they're just so hard to get off. I think they only torque to 110 maybe. We'll check that. I've only looked at these pads through the wheel, so I'm assuming they're worn out. So I have all the material I should need to replace them. Let's go ahead and pop this wear indicator loose. I would assume you can just push down this little tab and it should come out. It looks like it's captured by the bracket though. Or you can just break it. I have a new one anyway. Pins are here that retain the pads. They should just knock out. This little clip should come out. Bottom pin should come out. There's probably a pretty good lip worn, keeping them in there in the rotor. And right there is where the wear indicator kind of wears into the rotor and either opens the sensor up, grounds it out. I'm assuming it makes it open. It cuts through the wires. We can check that if you're curious. Since the pads won't just pull out, I mean, we're gonna have to squeeze those pistons back anyway. This is the part where everybody loses their mind. I'm gonna pull these little protector boots off. And I'm going to put a pan under here and I'm going to loosen the brake bleeder. That will allow fluid, and I have this little pusher that I'm going to try to push the brake pads apart with. I'm not sure it'll go far enough, but by opening that bleeder, I'm allowing fluid an escape route. Otherwise, when I squeeze these back, all that fluid is going to go backwards back into the master cylinder, and it could push trash up there. I've seen it where it's actually ruined the master cylinder or caused it not to work. So I was always taught to not push fluid back through the master. You can probably push these by hand. And also, the master cylinder is more than likely full. So by pushing it back through there, you're going to overflow it. So we'll just ease these pads back until at least we can get them out. Yeah, I'd say they're at the end of their life. While we're waiting, I'll go ahead and close the bleeder. So yeah, you can see where it cut through the wear sensor. Now I guess next we should make sure that the pads I got are the right ones. So these original pads are VW branded, which I'm not surprised. I believe the previous owner did all their service at the dealership. And I like these pads because they stopped fine and they weren't dirty. Problem was, a set of these is $180 for OE pads, which I can't bring myself to do that. So I got aftermarket wear sensors, and they were fairly reasonable. Let's make sure they're going to fit. They look correct. And there's a Phoebe part number 34499. I did splurge a little bit. I went with ATE ceramic pads, so I'm hoping these won't be as dirty. Be correct. Might as well go ahead and loosen both bleeders, and then we'll squeeze the pistons back. Again, if this squeezing the fluid out causes you heartache, don't do it. Just push it back through the master. You can use whatever you want. This piece of wood from the scrap bin seems to be working all right. And these push back really easy. And you can see fluid's coming out, so I know there's no air in there because the master cylinder's up here. Gravity's doing its thing, pushing any air out, so we're not getting air sucked back into the system. So now you can just close the bleeders. You shouldn't have to bleed them afterwards. Next, we can go ahead and clean this up. The old pads have a shim on there and the anti-vibration noise stuff behind it. So I'm going to replace the shims, reuse them off the old pads. These are actually Brembo VW branded pads, made in the USA. How about that? New wear sensor should just clip right in. clip it in the right way. I'll go ahead and clean this dust off here just because. So that's somewhat clean. This can of Worth DBQ 2200. I've had this can for like 20 years. It's just kind of a brake grease. I'll put a little bit on the back. I'm surprised it still works. Of course, I may have given up its last gasp. Put a little bit on the back. I'm not sure it's really necessary in this application. Since these pads are supported by these pins, I don't really think it's necessary to put anything on these at this point. So just slide her in. Same with the outer pad. While we're here, we can clean the pins up. I mean, they're pretty much just dusty. They have a little split washer kind of ring right here, and that's what holds them in, so there's nothing else mechanical out there. I sometimes put a little bit of this stuff on the pin just to keep it from getting stuck. Can clean up this clip just on general principle. Just should slide under there, and that's just keep some tension on the pads, keep them from rattling and vibrating, squeaking. Make it slippery so you can't hold on to it. Take a hammer that's way too big, and that should be all the way in. Next, this wear sensor has a little slot down here in the caliper, and then it should just snap into the factory connector. There we go, that's one side. That's interesting. These wheels usually don't get stuck like this. That one's even closer. So as far as the wear sensor, and there's new versus old comparison. So it looks like it starts eating into the plastic before it starts eating into the wire. And I would say this side's probably the one that set the light off. You can almost see conductor right there. And it shattered when I took it out, which I had the same problem with the rears. So if you don't get down to the sensors, you may not be able to get them out anyway. Obviously, if they're not cut through, you can probably reuse them. That wheel was kind of hard to come off. I'll clean that up a little bit. I didn't replace these rotors. They look good enough to me. They don't have any real scores in them. They don't have a super big lip on them. Probably the next time I need pads, I'll need to replace rotors also. Get in here and ease a few pumps on the brake pedal. Okay, it's good and firm now, so we should be good. Should probably go ahead and check brake fluid also. I don't know how you even see it in here. See fluid in it, I can't tell how full it is. Let me get a light and try to get a little further in there and see. And be sure to torque your wheels to 133 foot-pounds or 180 Newton meters. And sometimes it's a good idea just to spot check. They're good. Now what I don't know is if that light is going to reset itself. That pedal sunk to the floor in a little bit of a hurry once it got some boost behind it. It feels all right now. Let's go for a short drive. We'll do a couple easy stops to kind of break those pads in easily. feel fine so far. I think we're good. Okay, so the brake wear indicator stayed out, so I guess we don't need to do anything with that. I've heard where you needed to go in and retell it had new brake pads, but apparently that's not the case. There you go. There's how to replace the front brake pads on your Touareg. Possibly Q7, Cayenne, other models, other years. I've already done the rears in a separate video, check that out. And that's probably going to be one of the easiest brake jobs you'll ever do. You could realistically do this in about an hour. Thanks for watching.